In the small town of Greenfield, hidden in the heart of America, life flowed smoothly and peacefully. Here, everyone knew everyone, and each day was much like the one before. But beneath this calm surface lurked dark shadows that would soon erupt and change the lives of all the residents forever. Ryan Goling, a 32-year-old animal shelter worker, was known for his gentle nature and passion for animal welfare. His life had not been easy. Ryan was adopted by Emily and the late Edmund Goling when he was just a few years old. Emily, respected in society for her charitable work and impeccable taste, poured all her energy into raising her son, controlling every aspect of his life. After Edmund's death, when Ryan was 10, Emily became even more demanding and controlling. Ryan found solace in the company of animals. He became an animal shelter worker despite his mother's initial disapproval. His life was filled with caring for homeless animals, and he found his calling in it. But his world was about to crumble when Ashley Miller entered his life. Ashley, a 28-year-old vibrant middle school teacher, was known for her infectious energy and passion for education. She had a medical condition that prevented her from losing weight, and this became a source of much of her suffering. Born into a loving working-class family in a neighboring town, Ashley faced ridicule because of her weight, but her parents instilled in her a strong sense of self-worth. Ashley, despite her condition and weight, was full of life and energy. She aimed to change the lives of her students, inspiring them to kindness and acceptance. Her classes were filled with laughter and joy, and the children adored their teacher. But their paths crossed at the animal shelter, where Ashley had come to choose a dog for herself. Ryan, who volunteered at the shelter in his free time, was instantly captivated by Ashley's enthusiasm and how she interacted with the children and animals. Their connection was instant and powerful. Ryan was drawn to Ashley's confidence and her passion for life, while Ashley was charmed by Ryan's gentle nature and sharp mind. They began dating, and their relationship quickly blossomed as they discovered a deep compatibility and shared values. But their happiness was doomed to be tested. Emily, Ryan's adoptive mother, disapproved of her son's relationship with Ashley because of her weight. Emily, respected in society for her charitable work, hid behind her flawless facade a deep obsession. She could not accept that her son had chosen a woman who, in her opinion, did not meet her high standards. Emily began to monitor Ashley, noting her every movement and action. She made veiled comments about Ashley's weight, questioning every decision the couple made. Ryan, feeling the growing tension, tried to find a balance between his love for Ashley and his desire to please his mother. He tried to ignore Emily's comments, but each time he saw the pain in Ashley's eyes, his heart broke. Ashley, despite her strength and confidence, began to feel insecure under Emily's pressure. One day, Emily invited Ryan and Ashley to dinner. Ryan hoped this would be a chance for reconciliation, but the dinner turned into a disaster. Emily made comments about Ashley's weight and her choice of dress, each time undermining Ashley's self-esteem. Ryan, unable to bear it, exploded and asked his mother to stop her comments. Emily, with a cold smile, left the table, leaving behind a tense silence. After this incident, the tension between Ryan and Emily reached its peak. Emily began to appear unannounced at the animal shelter where Ryan worked, begging him to reconsider his relationship with Ashley. She even contacted Ryan's ex-girlfriends, trying to rekindle old feelings and drive a wedge between the engaged couple. Ashley, feeling the pressure, began to doubt her strength. She shared her concerns with Ryan, and he, despite his love for her, could not fully protect her from his mother's attacks. Ryan was torn between his love for Ashley and his desire to please his mother, and it was tearing him apart. The conflict between Emily and Ashley escalated to the breaking point when Emily began to stalk Ashley and plan her murder. Emily was obsessed with the idea of revenge, and her thoughts constantly returned to how she could eliminate her rival. One evening, as the sun began to set, Emily suggested that Ashley meet her in the backyard of her house under the pretext of reconciliation. Ashley, unsuspecting of Emily's sinister intentions, agreed. She went to the backyard, hoping that they could finally reconcile and forget about past disagreements. When Ashley entered the backyard, Emily was already waiting for her there. She hid an axe behind her back, which she had prepared in advance. Emily approached Ashley, pretending that she wanted to hug her and ask for forgiveness. But at the moment when Ashley was within reach, Emily swung the axe and delivered a fatal blow. Ashley only had time to scream in horror and pain before she fell to the ground. Emily, trembling with adrenaline and fear, looked at the body of her victim. She realized that she had committed the irreparable, but it was already too late. After the murder, Emily tried to hide the crime. She carefully planned how to dispose of the body and destroy all evidence. The night was dark and moonless, and Emily hoped that no one would notice her actions. She dug a hole in the backyard, trying not to make a sound, and buried Ashley's body. However, despite all her efforts, the police quickly found evidence pointing to Emily. Neighbors noticed strange noises and movements in the backyard, which aroused suspicion. Emily was arrested and soon found guilty of Ashley's murder. The court sentenced Emily to a long prison term. Her actions shocked everyone who knew them both. A conflict that could have been resolved peacefully led to tragic consequences, leaving a deep mark on the lives of all involved. Emily realized that her obsession with revenge had destroyed not only Ashley's life but also her own. When the news of the brutal murder of Ashley in the backyard of Emily's house spread through the town, the population was shaken to the core. Shock and disbelief gripped every resident, and the atmosphere in the town changed abruptly. A wave of horror swept through the streets as people learned that Emily, whom many knew as a quiet and reserved woman, was capable of such a monstrous crime. Neighbors who had previously smiled at each other now looked at each other with suspicion and fear. Parents became more cautious, forbidding their children to walk alone and constantly checking where they were. Shops and cafes, which were usually full of people, now stood half empty. People gathered in small groups, whispering and discussing the details of the murder. Rumors and speculation spread with incredible speed, and each new fact caused even more shock. Local newspapers and television channels did not stop covering this story, describing in detail each step of the investigation and the trial. Journalists tried to get interviews with friends and relatives of Emily and Ashley, but most of them refused to speak, fearing publicity and further speculation. Schools and community organizations held meetings and gatherings to discuss how to prevent such tragedies in the future. Psychologists and counselors were invited to help people cope with emotional stress and fear. When the court found Emily guilty and sentenced her to a long prison term, the town breathed a sigh of relief, but the shock and pain of what had happened remained. People began to ask questions about how such a thing could happen in their quiet and peaceful town. They sought answers and tried to understand what could have prevented this tragedy. In the end, the town gradually began to return to normal life, but the memory of that terrible event remained in the hearts of the people. They became more vigilant and attentive to those around them, hoping that such a thing would never happen again.